Welcome to Street Smart Success. This is Roger Becker, your host. Why compete with the big guys when you could build a great business serving the smaller guys? It's way less competitive, and there's a huge untapped market. Today's guest is Robert Brill of Brill Media, a Los Angeles-based digital media company. His tagline is, advertise like a Fortune 500 brand without spending a fortune. Robert built his business as an outsourced service for other ad agencies, but is now branching out to serve clients directly with a very affordable and compelling offer. Robert is also a super genuine guy who is great to talk to. He has had great success since starting in 2013 and has exciting plans to acquire 1,000 new smaller clients with his new offer. After listening to Robert, I felt like I made a friend and wish him incredible luck in this endeavor. Robert Brill of Brill Media, welcome very much to Street Smart Success. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thanks, Roger. This is great. Thanks for having me.
You got it. And you and I have been in peripheral or same types of businesses. So, it shouldn't be too much heavy lifting on my part. And hopefully I won't ask too many stupid questions because I kind of know the business a little bit. And so before we get into the nuts and bolts of what you're doing for a living these days, I was going to ask you just some basic stuff about your background. And so I know you're in LA now. Is that where you're from? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, I was born and raised out here in Los Angeles. Grew up in Glendale, Burbank. When I would ditch school, I'd go hang out at the media center in Burbank, which was fun. Didn't ditch school too often though, because I was a pretty good kid. Went to Cal State Northridge for college. Lived all around LA, Sherman Oaks. Currently, we're in Lake Balboa, and what we jokingly call the Lake District of Van Nuys. And yeah.
That's I know Van Nuys. That's funny. And do you have a family then?
Yeah. My wife and I have been married for, it's 2020, so 3.5 years. And we have a gorgeous little boy. His name is Henry. He's 20 months and he's just now starting to utter his first words. And he has such a beautiful, curious, inquisitive, sensitive personality. And, it's a privilege. Our businesses work from home. So it's so great to be able to work from home and to pop in every now and again. In fact, as we're recording this, about 45 minutes ago, I had a 15-minute break and my mother-in-law is in the house with Henry, our little boy, and my wife. And we just did a quick round robin of the wheels on the bus go round and round until I had a meeting.
That's fantastic. I am at the other end of the telescope. We just dropped our elder son off at Indiana University in Bloomington. And so it sounds like you don't need this advice, which is enjoy the moment because it just goes faster than you could ever imagine. It sounds like you don't need the advice if you're humming along to the wheels on the bus. So congratulations. You already know that. When you say you're working from home, were you working from home? Were you guys virtual before the pandemic?
Yeah. So I started the business in 2013 and our team, we have team members in, Miami, various around Michigan, and several locations in Los Angeles. We all work from home and we have some international folks as well who are full timers with us, but they're contract work. So we have some folks in various locations in India, Serbia, and basically, there's so many incredible benefits to doing that. And, one of the benefits is time with family. Number two, we get to hire incredibly talented people from all over the world or all over the United States. And we attempt to give them things that just you can't get when you work in an office environment, like time with family and working in your pajamas or whatever the case might be.
So you were ahead of the curve. You were already ahead of the curve. And so this had virtually no impact on you. And so you're speaking about your employees. Well, how many employees do you have, I guess, full-time, contract, and however you break it down?
Yeah. So I think the number right now is 8. We're going to jump to 9 in the next few weeks. And yeah, working from home is, number one, obviously it cuts costs, but more importantly, it's flexibility. We can work from wherever we want to and just really be happy with our lives. We had one person who was on our team and she just decided she's going to start traveling around the US. And she did that while she was with us. And it was great.
I'm going to backtrack because I forgot to ask, what did you major in at Northridge?
Business administration. And I think what I got is an emphasis in marketing, which is not exactly a minor.
Got it. I'm going to make just a random comment in that when you say you have 8 or 9 employees, I really appreciate that because you're building a business and I'm sure you're doing very well. I appreciate the fact that you didn't say you had like 90 employees when you have 8 or 9, which, a lot of people do. So I appreciate that.
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's verifiable. So let's not, you don't got to lie to hang. As we used to say in high school, you ain't got to lie to kick it. You can be honest. And the other part of it is, look, this is who we are. I don't want to be anything that we're not.
Yeah. I want to say I try to be the same way. Am I the same way? You could let, my colleagues judge, but yeah, I play it straight down the middle because why not? And people will know anyway. And, what's the point? But a lot of people out there, especially in our line of work, marketing, they're inclined to embellish. And so it sounds like you're as solid as a rock. So I guess, first of all, what does your client base look like? I did spend some time on your website. You talk a lot about localization. Now, clearly, that's your service. That doesn't necessarily reflect where your clients are. But what does your client base look like?
Yeah, our clients are actually a lot of agencies, and you're probably not going to find any specifics on our website about who our clients are. Which when I started this business, I started in 2013, so I was 10 years in the advertising business, and one of the jobs I had was an agency in New York. Actually, that was the agency in New York, and it was really interesting. It's a roundabout way of getting to the answer here. They had clients in the gaming space. So much of that. And this business is now defunct, by the way. It's used to be called Tangible Media. Really great shop, smart people, really talented, had a long agency life. But what was interesting is that our client base would also be our competitive set, meaning we would run video game advertising for like Sony, for example, and in the competitive set was actually another campaign that I was also working on that the client wanted us to look at. So we would pull competitive research from like ComScore or something, and I could note what ComScore said we were doing versus what we were actually doing. So what I learned from that, one of the things I learned from that experience is that it's okay not to boast about your clients, because it's actually a competitive advantage for the whole marketplace not to know who my clients are, so that I don't give them easy access to pick off my clients. But we do that because we're small, And so, the second part of that is that our clients are also actually primarily agencies. So when we work with big brands, most of those big brands aren't contracting with our company directly. They're contracting with a company that works with us, either directly as a white label or not as a white label. And there's a referral situation there.
How many agencies do you work with approximately?
About 10. If I had to count, I don't keep track. I just keep track of campaigns, right? And I often forget, like I don't characterize. I just like, okay, this is the campaign that's in front of me that I got to be focusing on.
And so do you pursue any clients ever directly or no? Or you just flat out, you deal with agencies?
We're just starting that. So, I've been exceptionally fortunate to have built a network and relationship pool of people who I've worked with now. So we're in 2020, so now 17 years in the business, and just people I've met along the way who, have opportunities where we can align. So a lot of the way we've grown has been people know me and trust me, and I trust them, and we go to market together and offer services. Just now in 2020, late from 2019, we've been working on marketing for our own organization. And marketing for, as you might imagine, just any situation where you're marketing yourself internally, it's hard. The challenges that we've found is that it's hard to the language and the terms that allow someone who doesn't have any familiarity with what we do to feel comfortable with what we do. We need to build know, like, and trust. Right. So we need attention. They need to have some affinity towards us. And then ultimately over time, they need to know that we're going to do right by them. And with so many different marketing firms that exist in the marketplace, there literally anyone with access to a computer and a Facebook account could call themselves an advertising firm and run ads on Facebook. So my competition is in some ways endless like that. But you can't account for you can't start and then have the experience that we've had. So that's one of the big advantages that we have. So the point is, we've turned on a marketing apparatus that has taken us 6 or 7 months to kind of become self-operating, which is really nice. We have anywhere between 5 and 20 different leads coming in a day. We're building up a sales apparatus now. So the other thing is a lot of our campaigns are, for our organization, relatively big. We're doing anywhere between $20,000 and $120,000 a month in advertising on a particular campaign. So we've crafted an offering that allows smaller advertisers to not be put off by the numbers that we throw out there in the marketplace. And one of the things that we found in crafting this solution, which we're calling Spot on Marketing, is that if we come across an advertiser that wants to spend $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 a month, the biggest challenge they have, well, there's a few big challenges. The first challenge is they may not have a strategy in place. So I know people charge anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 for a marketing strategy, but they need some minimal level of strategic guidance to help them go to market so that we all can be successful. And they don't know how to build landing pages, and they don't know how to develop ads. And I can't go to an advertiser or a small business like a dance studio or a tutoring company, a local tutoring company, and say, hey, look, we can run the ads for you, but you need to build the ads and the landing page, and you need to also have it all fit within a strategy. So we do all that for them at a very low cost. Our cost starts at $1,500 a month for all of that stuff. And we do that in such a way that's scalable because we know how to drive leads and ultimately sales for our clients. We just need a decent landing page. We need some decent creative, and we need a strategy to tie it all together.
Well, let me take you back to the beginning of that answer because I find it very interesting. And let me make sure I heard you right. So you set up a lead gen program for yourself to go out and get direct business, not through agencies. And did I hear you correct when you said you're getting 5 to 20 leads a week? Is that what you said?
A day.
A day. Okay. So my first question is, what is that comprised of? Like, how are you? I find that to be incredible in a great way. How are you getting them?
Yeah. I'll tell you exactly what we're doing. And I'm actually going to put out a white paper or lead magnet of some sort on this. I have it written and edited. I just need to find a moment to actually publish it and start running ads for that. So basically what we found that works is we're running lead ads on Facebook, targeting a variety of different recipes of audience data. So the idea is, and this is what took 6 or 7 months to figure out. What took time was, what do we say? Like, how do we talk about ourselves in a way that's not overwhelming? What images do we use? And we just tested a lot of different images. We tested a variety of different kind of like consumer journey funnels and various industry niches. Like we tried restaurants for a while. We couldn't really get any traction with restaurants. So we have a number of different funnels running right now, but the one that drives the most consistent leads is Facebook lead ads, asking, and we have so the lead magnet is a 70-page recession marketing guide. Basically, as a tangent here, it's in March, mid-March, it was like, okay, we're a marketing and advertising firm. Do companies even need marketing and advertising when we're looking down the barrel of a global pandemic? Like, people aren't going to spend money. Consumers are scared. The future is uncertain. Do we advise our clients to run marketing? So I started doing some research, looked at science, looked at papers back describing events going back to the 1912 recession, into the Great Depression, into the Great Recession. And ultimately, what the findings showed is that you have anywhere between a 3 and 340% increase in sales if you actually increase your marketing during economic downturn, for a variety of reasons. And so we published a 70-page report that tells you what's happening, why that's happening, and how marketers were doing it at the moment that the pandemic had already turned on. So we actually look at ads going back to between middle of, like, I would say March 20th to middle of April. We have examples of advertisers that were in market during that period when it had already turned. So we have this recession marketing guide. We run a lead ad. We have various recipes of targeting. I have probably like 9 different target groups that I'm turning on right now, that I have on. And the lead form is name, email address, phone number, and you also need to answer the question, what is your biggest marketing challenge? And the answers could be, I'm trying to remember all of them. I don't know how to write emails. I don't get social media. I don't know how to build landing pages. I don't have a trusted partner. I don't have a strategy, or it's something else.
So it's basically a Facebook campaign that's driving all those leads, or are you doing anything else, or is it pretty much what you just described?
It's a Facebook. The most consistent thing, the most directly attributable is Facebook lead ads.
Got it. Okay. And then what are you spending on it a month?
About $3,500 a month.
Oh my goodness. So your cost per lead is so incredibly inexpensive. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like about $5-ish to $12. So we're doing about 100. We have tests also. So like right now we're spending like $120 a day, but we were spending like $75, $80 a day. So there's also learnings happening. So it's going to be less efficient for a while as well.
And when did you start this again?
So the early stages were December of 2019. And then we ebbed and flow in and out of spending throughout the year. And then we started spending a lot more about 2 months ago.
Got it. So how many, have you closed new clients? How many? What does that look like?
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So let me actually take a step back and also say that, I redesigned my site, and I can tell you that's not where my expertise is. So I had a designer come in from Upwork, and she helped me. I don't know if she was the best, but she was definitely good, really smart woman, really good design work. She helped me. I managed the whole process. Our website is decent. It doesn't have particularly nice animations, but it's a good website. It gets the job done. So I was focusing on SEO for a couple months, and we're just starting to see the fruit of our labor on SEO. So we have organic rankings for like hyperlocal advertising and agency trading desk. Where either for some of those keywords, we're on the first page of Google, and I don't keep track of every single one, but we have some good rankings there. So we have some organic traffic coming in as well. So now here's the challenge. I basically spent about 2-3 weeks actively selling and not focusing as much on daily optimizations for our campaigns, because we have traders and whatnot doing that. So I was kind of like, I was trying to sell. Those are just coming to fruition now. So we have 3 campaigns that are looking to start over the next week and a half, because of leads that have come from sales, from ads, from Facebook ads. So the last month I have done no selling. So literally I have leads piling up in my HubSpot account that I'm not reaching out to. So we're working on that as well, trying to find a seller.
Wow. So the only reason is just you don't have the bandwidth right now to follow up on them. Is that what because you're in the middle of hiring a salesperson?
We don't have the bandwidth, and I'm also not a salesperson. Like, what is the job of a salesperson, right? You're like calling every day. You know how to understand buying signals. Like, it's a completely different job to be a seller. So I've never had a role where I've learned how to actually sell. So I'm kind of like doing that now when I have the time.
I understand. And, when I started my business, my ad agency, which is a number of years ago, I didn't know anything about advertising. The only thing I knew how to do was sell. So we should have hooked up back then. But
right.
And then I'd sell something and then have to figure it out. So the offering for $1,500, what is that comprised of?
That is right now, it is this 9 social media posts a month. We'll build you a very simple landing page. We're going to send out 1 nurture email a month, and we're going to develop the creative for you for Facebook. Unless you can't run on Facebook, then we'll do banners. And we run the ads for you. And all of that starts with a 1-hour deep dive strategy conversation.
So if I had, and obviously I spent some time on your website to try and prepare for this conversation we're having now. I don't know how to say it, but I'll just say it that I wasn't 100% clear on exactly what you did. If you were to give me the proverbial elevator pitch in 30 seconds, what is Brill Media?
We drive sales and leads using the best data, tools, and technology available in the marketplace.
So are
I should
you?
just say that on our website.
Well, I didn't know, I because I'm in the business, I kind of gleaned that. I knew you weren't, a used car dealership. I knew you weren't, a manufacturer. You weren't selling widgets. I clearly got all that. So how are you different than, like you were describing earlier, just the incredible amount of competition, right? That do what you do or variations of what you do. Would you say you're a digital marketing firm or no? And if the answer is no, why and how are you not a digital marketing firm? And I'm just doing this because I'm having fun and you seem like an awfully nice guy and it's a fun conversation. I don't mean to, I'm not trying to back you into a corner.
No. This is really good because I've thought about this. I have really some nuanced answers for that because I think about exactly what you just said. And I also know, so let me actually take a step back. So what you're seeing on our website is a reflection of what's in my mind. I know. And that's a really great example of the fact that I don't know how to really package up our offering in a way that's clear and concise. But what I know is the nuances of programmatic and digital advertising. So who we are is dependent upon your level of knowledge of the advertising space. If you're in advertising, we're a trading desk, right? We do the same type of work that I can't think of any trading desks right now. IP media brands, Cadreon. We do what Cadreon does. We do what any ad buyer on the trade desk does. We know how to use programmatic solutions. So the tagline that I go to market with a lot of times is advertise like the Fortune 500 brands without spending a fortune. And the reason we talk about that is because the one thing that we do that most of our competitors can't is we have access to the best tools and technologies, the Trade Desk, Media Math, RTBIQ, Vistar, that most digital, just by volume, most digital marketing firms don't even know exist. And that's the programmatic landscape. So we take the tools that are available in the programmatic landscape and deploy them for a lot of our clients. The vast majority of our media spend is not on Facebook, by the way.
Where is it?
The Trade Desk.
Okay, got it. And when you say the trade desk, so my agency, we do a lot of business with the trade desk, and it's mostly for connected TV, that's just because a lot of our clients utilize it. So when you say the trade desk, are you talking about the trade desk as in the trade desk, the company? Because that's who we do business with. Is that who you're referring to?
Yeah, the Trade Desk and Media Math.
And will you explain here for our listeners who may or may not know, what is the definition of programmatic advertising?
Yeah, so the simplest definition is the use of data and automation to make smart ad serving decisions.
So you're taking a little bit of or a lot of the guesswork out in terms of who you're reaching. And then is there a auction component to it in terms of how it gets priced for efficiency along those lines?
The way we buy it, there is an auction. The way we price it, we price our campaigns on a flat CPM basis. So one of the things that we found out early on is, well, there's a couple challenges. The first challenge is people in our business don't like accounting. I think like accounting seems very difficult. So when you actually break down what ad buying looks like, it's a big accounting exercise. There's the cost for the platform, the cost for the data, the cost for the media, the cost for the fraud prevention, brand safety, contextual targeting. There's like 7 different costs there. But when I'm selling tickets to Cardi B or Hugh Jackman, the woman who's in charge of selling tickets doesn't care about any of that. They care that they're selling tickets. So we price on a flat CPM, and the flat CPM is our ability, our opportunity to take a risk. And the risk is we have to price the media low enough that it beats the market on rates, and also high enough that we can actually deliver the performance and results that the clients need. So if we don't price it right, we're coming out of pocket to market Cardi B and Hugh Jackman. If we price it correctly, we have high enough cost to where we can actually buy quality ad inventory and drive sales. So, the reason why I started this business, Roger, the reason I started this business is because I didn't think I'd find a job that would allow me to do what I want to do in the way that I want to do it, and also sort of be able to create the life that I want. Like my title right now is CEO. Now, granted, it may not mean much to many people, but I get to be the chief executive officer of my company, and there are really hard, difficult, tough decisions to make on a day-to-day basis, including staffing, including decisions with clients, including all the stressors of just running a business. when I started this business, I was really interested in just getting something off the ground. I wanted to learn. I wanted to see what happens when I work with small companies. Okay, too small, doesn't work, not scalable. When I look at the sales cycle for the largest brands in the world, I'm not going to go up against Cadreon. I don't have the relationships, nor do I have the time, nor do I know really what to do to court a big advertiser like Coca-Cola and steal them away from like whoever their big agency is, right? So I'm opportunistic. I create something that I think is valuable, and I say, let's figure out, let's see who wants this. And that's how we've grown. And so we actually do have some really interesting big brands in NBA and NHL and other places that are recognizable. But all of that has come through relationships that, where we're the partner to an agency or an agency-like entity, a consultant, whatever the case might be, a strategy shop.
So the NHL and some of those bigger ones, those are through the agencies that you work with?
Yeah.
And then just out of curiosity, so if you're working with these agencies and you have these wonderful partnerships, do they ever bring you in on the pitch, or are you completely white labeled?
Yeah, we've worked in a lot of different ways. So in one particular case, I was just part of the pitching team for an organization. But a lot of we don't actually pitch to get business, which sounds kind of silly and might be very foreign, but we don't pitch. Business appears in front of us because someone else has the relationship. However they have that relationship, they're now responsible for media, and we're the trusted party to get that done for them.
I totally get it. So they're not utilizing you necessarily. They're not leveraging you or need you to be in the pitch. You're getting into the process after they've won the business. Are these smaller, mid-sized agencies that just don't have the internal, media bandwidth, or could they be really big agencies that, they get an assignment so large that they just, they can't scale up fast enough, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, the range, our smallest client would be a 3-man shop. Our largest client is doing over 100 million a year. And we generally serve the general commonality across our clients is that we serve in a way that allows them to do what they do best, so that they don't have to deal with the stuff that isn't part of their zone of genius. So we do work with clients where digital advertising is not the core thing that they do. And in some cases, we help them get to the point where that's the core thing that they do. And that might take months or years, to the point where we buy out of home, we buy connected television. And we do that because it's just easier for us to handle that than for one organization that does, I'm making it up, creative really well. The cultural DNA of the company, if it's creative, is going to have a very hard time. It's not impossible. It's just they don't want to do it. It's going to be difficult to then wrap your mind around the nuances and process points and standard operating procedures for running a media campaign programmatically. It's just a different type of work.
I completely understand that. It makes a ton of sense, and it makes you provide great value for in those situations, and which is why you've done well. In those agency relationships, how do you structure? I've always wondered about this. Actually, we're in a pitch that another agency brought us into, and I'm not going to go into details because this is about you and not me. But how do you get compensated? Is it a fee, or do they split some commissions with you, or hourly, or what? How do you configure that?
We have to be providing some value for the agency. So we're really open to just how it gets structured.
So sometimes if it's a markup, let's say, you might then just determine, okay, here's what it's going to take. These are my costs. This is what I need to do it at a profit. Guys, here it is. You pay me 10 grand, and that's what you have to pay me for this, because that's what I need to make a profit, and whatever you guys charge, that's your business.
Yeah, exactly. There's some agencies, for example, that just by having us on the roster, by us being on the roster and being available to them and their clients, they now have a fully thought out media activation arm.
These two young ladies that they met working for me. Oh my goodness. Again, I hate to say it, but probably like 18 years ago. And then they went off on their own like 5 years later. And that's pretty much the way they started their business. They wouldn't mind me saying it is. It's Media Matters Worldwide. They're out of San Francisco. And I'm pretty sure to this day, they're doing exactly what you're describing. I do think they have some of their own clients directly, but I think, yeah, it makes sense because there's a lot of great creative shops out there that media is not their bailiwick. So I'm intrigued with your product offering. And what I love about it is that it simplifies, right? It kind of puts it in a box. They don't necessarily need to be technical to understand. They just know they need to be doing what you're providing. And it's very easy for them to say yes to, right? So you've made it really simple. And I love that. And I guess my question is, in the best case scenario, and you did explain kind of how you need to execute in order to be profitable, so you both get what you want out of it. I guess in a best case scenario, what kind of margin, can you generate for yourself and both parties say, yeah, let's do this again?
So the conversation around pricing, the margin is really defined by the advertiser. So whatever the advertiser ends up, whatever the agency setup is variable across our clients. So a lot of times we're not privy into how that's set up.
You know what I meant, Robert, and I obviously didn't clarify it well enough. In terms of you're trying to develop direct relationships and not working through an agency.
Oh, I see your point. Yeah, I mean, what we set up is, for a lot of our smaller clients, like I'm trying to go after low-hanging fruit, and I think I can build. My goal here is I want to build an $18 million a year business on small clients spending $1,500 a month. 12 months a year. So I did the math earlier this year before the pandemic. I don't remember what the numbers were, but I can probably figure it out. But the point is, with that service, because we're putting in marketing and advertising together, what we go to market with is, the way we break that down is $500 goes to advertising and $1,000 goes to marketing services. And so if I break that down, that cost a little further, we have a really talented fractional strategist, meaning like she's not an employee, but she has a Brill Media email address and she's like a very important part of the team. Her name is Brandy Peters. She's up in a small town called Medicine Hat, Canada. And what's interesting about her, and I like to hype her up because she has like almost diametrically opposed experience than I do. I know how big brands build their businesses. I haven't done it, but I know what media mix modeling is. I know how big brands sell chocolate bars and CVS and Walmart, right? Like I know, like I've been privy to those conversations, and I've worked on some big brands like Bacardi and Toshiba and whatever else. So this person comes from the opposite. Brandy has been a self-taught internet marketer for the last decade and knows how to work with individuals to build their brand and drive sales and leads. And she's been an integral part of helping us change how we market small businesses. So when a client engages with us with spot on marketing, part of that $1,000 goes to Brandy and part of it goes to us so that we can kind of like have some financial motivation to keep doing it. And $500 goes to advertising.
I love it. So how do you come up with 18 mil as opposed to 17 mil, 15 or 20 mil? Why 18?
Yeah. There's math here. If I go 18 million,
it's 1,000 clients. I figured it's 1,000 clients.
That was the number. Yeah. I want 1,000 clients paying me $1,500 a month, 12 months a year.
Got it. So if you get to your 1,000, how many employees is it going to take you to service that?
I don't know how many employees, but I have an idea of our operating costs. And again, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know what those numbers are, but probably a lot of people. Like probably, I don't know, more than 8. I can tell you that.
We've never, hey, listeners, this is Zoom pandemic time. I've never met Robert face to face, but I can tell you right now, I love him. I love you. I hope that doesn't make you feel too uncomfortable that
I love you too, Roger Becker.
And I'm in your corner. So revenue. So what kind of revenue are you doing now?
Last year we did 2.9 million.
Oh, good for you, man.
We got on the Inc. 500.
Yeah, with 8 or 9 people. God bless. Good for you. That's outstanding. Well, you know what? I mean, you're a media guy, right? You come from the buying side. You're really, really good at what you do. And I mean, I don't know because I've not endeavored to do what you're endeavoring to do, but I have to imagine that it's totally doable just because you're right. I mean, to go after a really big client, like, I'm trying to think of like somebody local that's in LA because you're in LA for some reason. It doesn't have to be, but that doesn't matter. If you're going after somebody that spends $10 million in digital media, unless it's your brother-in-law or, your best friend from overnight camp or, whatever the heck it is, by and large, you're going to have competition. You're going to need to be, positioned in a way to even get you into the conversation. And then they're going to be sometimes they're talking to literally 10 agencies before they even winnow it down to 2 or 3 finalists. And then there's, RFPs, that require, 60 pages, single line type. And then it's a little bit of a cluster. And so what you're doing, you're not going to have that. You're doing pull marketing instead of push. We need to talk afterwards because my skill and only skill, arguably, and it's arguable that I'm even skilled at that, but it's sales. You just need to figure that mechanism out because the rest of it is by far, it's not a commodity, but it's something you know how to produce in your sleep. I get that. Well, what else is going on?
I mean, I think, my philosophy, there's a few things here, right? I think my philosophy right now is that there's a big opportunity. We all have a really massive opportunity right now. Every one of us, because no one's an expert. No one alive has been through a global pandemic and knows what to do. And there is a massive element of wealth creation that's happening right now for specific groups of people. And when I say specific groups, I mean people who are in a position to take ownership of their lives and have a little bit of energy and think differently about the way that they're going to live their lives. I just mean that to say, like, whatever the situation is, whatever any individual is doing, whether you're working or laid off, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an employee, whether you're a stay-at-home person or not a stay-at-home person, now is the moment to change everything that you're doing because everything is changing. The whole world is changing. And I'm so invigorated by the fact that we have opportunities right now that will reverberate. Like I heard on the news, or I was listening to an article from, I think, The Atlantic or something, talking about like there was a plague in the 1300s, and through some actions, that plague ended up ending the feudal system in Europe through like 3 steps of separation. And it's like there are going to be things that are happening in our life in the next 5 or 10 years that are going to be hard to predict. And I just want to be ready for the opportunity to scoop up and swoop up on whatever those opportunities are.
I just read a book called The Distant Mirror, which was all about the Middle Ages. And basically the plagues, the Great Plague, which was 1348 to like 1350, where it wiped out, half of Europe. It wiped out like 70% of Florence and 70% of other municipalities as well. But it spawned, to your point, it spawned the Renaissance. Which changed the world. And, in a lot of what happened in the Renaissance, it changed the banking system. It changed trade. It changed art. I mean, culture, architecture, you could go on and on. There is one knick-knack detail that I didn't follow up on that I wanted to ask you. You said for your clients now, and I'm backing way up in our conversation, you said Facebook actually is not the bulk of what you do. So what is the bulk of what you do for your clients right now?
So I'll tell you, I don't have like hard statistics on this, but just directionally accurate, mostly banners followed by Facebook, followed by video. And within banners, I think the most powerful thing anyone can do, and within banners, is dynamic creative. Like we're running an ad right now where people are watching a live stream being delivered in a 300 by 600 and 970 by 250.
Got it. So when you say banners, you talking about like displays, Google Display Network, or just different networks? Or
I mean, if you buy through the trade desk, right? You have PubMatic, you have OpenX, you have Google, all these, Rubicon, all the different exchanges. Right? We're buying banners, right? So if we want to buy ads on GameSpot or IGN, there's probably a couple of different ways you can buy those ads. One of them is through the trade desk. So now the question is, what do you put in the ad? And we buy, a 300 by 600. We have some branding, and we put a live stream in there.
How much more effective is video than just a static banner?
Yeah, it depends on your goal, right? Like I would say if you're selling tickets, I think you can get a lot done with dynamic creative that is not video. So one of the things we do, and we have been on for like a year and a half now, I think, is banner ads that are dynamically rotating or dynamically changing based on which artist you looked at. So like if you went on a page and you saw Cardi B, the next ad you're going to get from us is going to be containing an image and show times for Cardi B in your area. But if you looked at Hugh Jackman, you're going to get Hugh Jackman in the ad, or Adele, or whoever it is. I think it's less about video. I think it's more about how do you connect to the relationship between the brand and the user. I do think video is powerful, but I will tell you, like, we haven't done an extensive amount with video to say that it is or better or worse than banners or than like non-video banners.
Got it. Well, and the other thing is that it's obviously a lot harder to produce, right, than a banner ad.
Right. And especially, I think a lot of things that what a lot of folks in the marketing business, I think, don't realize is that there's also the human element of all of this in relation to how your marketer wants to go to market. Like the events business is notoriously last minute. So there may be someone who produced a video, but like if we're in the conversation 2.5 days before the thing launches. And it's like, we can say you could create video, but no one has time for that. They're just like, let's get these campaigns live. If there is video, we love running video. And then it depends on like what type of video. You have in-banner video, like the ones I was mentioning. You have pre-roll and mid-roll and out-roll. You have connected television video. It really just depends, I think, much more on the goals of the campaign. Like if you're a large brand and you're selling chocolate bars at CVS or Walmart, then I think your media mix modeling is going to be very important. And you're going to need to know that a certain number of GRPs and TRPs are going to drive your business. But if I'm a smaller business and I don't have the wherewithal to develop video, as you mentioned, then you focus on what you can create and what's iterable. I'm much more interested in iteration. I don't want to I talked to someone the other day and she said, like, advertising art is not a commissionable work of art. It's a way of doing something good for your business. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get the job done.
When you say you're much more into iteration, what does that mean in that context?
Yeah. I want to run 100 or 1,000 different ad executions. I don't want to have 2 videos.
I get it loud and clear. You've answered these questions wonderfully. I give you a 10 out of 10. It has been so wonderful getting to know you. And it's Brill Media, Robert Brill. You heard him. He is obviously a very honest, forthright, and extremely experienced digital marketing performance guy. So call him, email him.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Street Smart Success.